This is the AWS Morning Brief Security Edition. AWS is fond of saying security is job zero. That means it's nobody in particular's job, which means it falls to the rest of us. Just the news you need to know, none of the fluff. This episode is sponsored in part by Honeycomb. When production is running slow, it's hard to know where problems originate. Is it your application code, users, or the underlying systems? I've got $5 on DNS, personally. Why scroll through endless dashboards while dealing with alert floods, going from tool to tool to tool that you employ, guessing at which puzzle pieces matter? Context switching and tool sprawl are slowly killing both your team and your business. You should care more about one of those than the other. Which one is up to you? Drop the separate pillars and enter a world of getting one unified understanding of the one thing driving your business: production. With Honeycomb, you guess less and know more. Try it for free at honeycomb.io/screaminginthe-cloud. Observability, it's more than just hipster monitoring. Hello and welcome to Last Week in AWS Security Edition. I'm at the AWS Summit in Chicago today. If you are too, come track me down and say hi. As this episode goes to the digital form of whatever the hell print is, some rather fascinating allegations have come from Twitter's former CISO about a trash fire approach to security culture inside the company. Right now, it's still very early and more or less reduces us to only being able to rubberneck about it. I'd imagine by next week, there will be room for some more thoughtful analysis. Now let's see what the community got up to. Honestly, the fact that Microsoft employees exposed their own Azure credentials via GitHub, according to an article I found, is damning by itself, but not for the reasons that you'd probably think. A Microsoft spokesperson said, quote, "We haven't seen any evidence that sensitive data was accessed or the credentials were used improperly," end quote. Think about that for a second. If you put your AWS credentials up on GitHub, experiments have demonstrated that exploitation attempts begin within the first minute that they're made public. Is Azure so crappy that even cryptocurrency mining scammers won't use it? And there was a fascinating discovery by the folks at Wiz, specifically that a lot of cloud providers don't do proper tenant isolation with PostgreSQL. I find the complete lack of mention of AWS in their report suspicious and more than a little bit frightening. I did, however, like that Google Cloud Security caught the researchers' experiments basically instantly. That's a fun detail and reinforces my Google Cloud is the most secure of the big three clouds thesis.
DoorDash had a problem. As their cloud-native environment scaled and developers delivered new features, their monitoring system kept breaking down. In an organization where data is used to make better decisions about technology and about the business, losing observability means the entire company loses their competitive edge. With Chronosphere, DoorDash is no longer losing visibility into their application suite. The key? Chronosphere is an open-source compatible, scalable, and reliable observability solution that gives the observability lead at DoorDash business confidence and peace of mind.
Read the full success story at snark.cloud/chronosphere. That's snark.cloud/CHRONOSPHERE. AWS had a single security blog post of note: how to detect suspicious activity in your AWS account by using private decoy resources. Congratulations to AWS on reinventing canarytokens.org from first principles and then overcomplicating it immensely. As far as tips and tricks go, today's is to remember to opt out of AWS AI data usage. I mean, if you want to let AWS use your usage of their AI services to improve their own offerings, then you do you, I suppose. But I'm a big believer in not letting companies do that sort of thing without compensation when I'm paying them for the service. And that's what happened last week in AWS security. More to come next week, I'm sure. Stay salty. Thank you for listening to the AWS Morning Brief Security Edition. For the latest in AWS security that actually matters, please please follow AWS Morning Brief on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or wherever the hell it is you find the dulcet tones of my voice, and be sure to sign up for the Last Week in AWS newsletter at lastweekinaws.com.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.